nice to see you. Okay, Brett, thanks for that awesome keynote. It was fantastic. I think it also sets the scene for the panel discussion because we're going to talk about really business value drivers. And what I did was just to put up this slide and put it in, keep it like that. I think that's big enough. And really this slide kind of summarizes, I think, this particular session that we are focused on right now. And it's really, if you think about business, it's really all about the value drivers to actually help a business thrive in the smart technology era. And when I talk about the smart technology era, I actually refer to the fourth industrial revolution. Who have heard about the fourth industrial revolution? Okay, yeah. So we live in this new era, and I think Brett has. You can see the elements of this era and the things that you've referred to, the exponential growth and all those type of things. It's all very relevant. Anyway, so let's quickly get to the panel. I just want a quick introduction. So, and maybe we can start by, Alishna, you can just quickly say your role, what you do. I think it's better if you speak. And we do the same for each one. Are you plugged in? Yeah.
Everyone. Okay. I'm Alishna. I head up the analytics division in a pharmaceutical company called Aspen. And analytics is very, very new in the pharmaceutical arena, but it's a very, very exciting topic at the moment, and it is what businesses now are currently relying on to go into the next step. So my role then becomes very, very important. And you've heard many people saying that it's the new sexy job, but it's a lot of hard work. You find that you have to be involved with multiple stakeholders, right up from executive level to looking at the needs with your field force down at ground level, as well as you have to be a master of everything, and if you're not, you still have to go and find the answer. From my background, I started off in healthcare. I am a nuclear medicine radiographer by profession, and then I moved into the corporate world and studied business and eventually an MBA, and that's how I reached this sort of level in the pharmaceutical world. But involved in the day-to-day business and in analytics, it looks like there's going to be an explosion in terms of how we use data science, and fuel strategy, rather than just somebody who maybe 10, 12 years ago, somebody had to sit in a room and brainstorm and develop strategy. Here we're using factual information to fuel the future and to look at what has happened in the past that can be good predictors of the future, using analog models and going forward and trying to keep up with the rapid pace that we have currently.
Great. Thanks, Alishna. Let's keep it just 3 or 4 sentences, just because we're going to get into details. I can see Alishna is so keen to share. So that's awesome. Brett, well, you've been introduced, but just very briefly. Brett. He can do it because he's given us 40 minutes. Carl, if you can just quick.
Thanks, Jacques. I'm currently Director of Data Enablement and BI Analytics at AccTech. AccTech is largely an SMB ERP provider, but we have some bigger customers that are starting to ask some interesting questions around data and how can really benefit from the things we're talking about. And so I was brought into AccTech to further those discussions. And I think what's exciting about what I'm doing is exploring this balance between understanding my data and then actually getting value out of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks, Karl. That's awesome. Annabel.
Hi.
Nice.
I've seen you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to remember, we go to so many conferences and stuff like that. Anyway.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annabel. I'm the CEO of a company called Strider Technology. And what we do, we work primarily with financial institutions, but we have a toolbox of software modules. So much like Brett's got tools in the cloud, we've got software modules that work very much in the machine learning and automation space that corporates can rapidly white label in a matter of minutes and start feeding their data through various algorithms to try and get value out of it. So I think I'm just going to keep it there for this discussion because we do a lot of other things, but that's really what.
No, that's awesome. Just quickly, I'm the CEO and founder of Cortex, which is a next generation AI company. We work with the Googles of the world. We have some state-of-the-art technology, TensorFlow, etc. And also, I've founded the Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa, which is a non-profit organization, and it's really an AI community around transforming Africa using smart technologies. So you can go to machineintelligenceafrica.org, and you would find a lot of resources there as well. All the events and presentations and videos, we share that as well on that particular website as well. And we're actually making a recording here so we can share it with other people in the AI community as well. So just, is that okay?
Yep.
I've got a little bit of bread as well, so you're going to share that as well. Okay, awesome. So I think the specific panel discussion is really focused on CFOs and financial executives and what you actually need to know in terms of AI investments, analytic decisions, and so forth. And Brad, you obviously started your tips are awesome and so forth. But let's just start from this side. And if each of you can just give a quick perspective on that. So think about, there's your CFO, financial executive. They need to make decisions in terms of cost cutting or in terms of investment and so forth. What are the things that they need to know? Alishna, if you start with you.
I would draw on my experience, and I would say the CFO needs mostly top-line information. So a lot of what they need is work that would be done in advance, and you need to have answers. Like I have a CFO who will call me whilst in a meeting and say, can I have this figure or this outcome in 10 minutes? So that's what you usually need to know. Also, they look at market dynamics internally, what's happening, and they need up-to-date current information, even if something happened this morning.
Cool. Anyone else want to chime in there? We don't need to do it like that.
No, I mean, I want to reiterate what Brett said in his presentation around that the lines are being blurred. I think that's very apparent, and I fully agree with that. I think being a financial person and not thinking about, and I want to commend everybody for being here this morning because it shows that you're trying to learn and understand what this world is about. But I think that the growth journey is it's real, and if you're not intentionally growing into this and becoming familiar, you're going to be left behind. I mean, if I give you an example, 5 or 6 years ago, I was a non-WhatsApp user intentionally because I hated the idea of WhatsApp, that anybody and everybody can get hold of me whenever I want to, or they want to, and I don't want to be part of all these groups and nonsense like that. And I kind of had to make a decision eventually when I was getting pestered by my mates and by my wife and everybody I was dealing with. You've got to get onto WhatsApp, And so I installed WhatsApp and I got active on WhatsApp. Maybe that's not as difficult a journey as what we're on right now, but it's the same concept. If you're not actively learning and actively addressing this personally and in your team as a financial team, you're going to be left behind.
And I think, your question as well speaks to how. So
correct.
Like what next? What do I actually go and do at the office now? And I think there are two really important things where we see this winning and losing. It was to Brett's point, where you have to almost look at your day-to-day work or day-to-day value chain that you're providing and carve out a very little piece of work. Something that you can test and validate in 4 to 6 weeks at maximum. Low cost, low risk, carve it out, put it with a team in a separate room or whatever the mechanics need to look like, and try and see what the success or failure. If it's a failure, shut down and move on, try and carve out another piece. But instead of trying and change everything's fair, just try and find one little element of the business that you can potentially improve upon or apply an algorithm or manage your data better in. And that's always the best starting point. And then the second thing is to get alignment with your CTO. Because often we'll have these wonderful visions of what we want to do in the business, and they can get shut down very quickly if there isn't alignment from the right people in the right team. So that's just two things I'd say.
That's awesome. It actually leads into the second question around how do we operationalize AI? And you start talking about the how. And I think for me, well, there's clearly quick wins. So that's what you described here as well. So you want to show proof points of value. I've been talking to so many corporates and customers where if they don't see that value, it's very difficult to actually motivate us. They know there must be value, and you see what Brett is talking about this, but if you don't see that proof point, it's difficult. So you want to see it speaks to those value drivers. But what I also see, it's almost like burning the candle from both sides. There's the Industrial Data Corporation has got a big data analytics maturity framework where they talk about 5 pillars. Intent, strategy, and then people, processes, data, and technology. And you can actually measure an organization's readiness and maturity in terms of those 5 things, going from an ad hoc state to an optimized state. So you need to take them on that journey, smart technology or digital transformation journey as well. So we're actually busy with customers on that level as well. So one can actually see what do you need to have in place. Talk about cloud infrastructure, so you actually have that broader vision. But in parallel with that, the quick wins and the things that you've talked about is absolutely critical. But let's just unpack it a little bit. What is it? What does it mean in terms of people? You're also busy with operationalizing, doing data science, and obviously in the pharmaceutical space as well, Anisha. But so what does it mean to operationalize in your mind?
There is a move towards a cloud-based environment. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. And in terms of operationalizing, the biggest hurdle is the belief that this sort of information can exist and exist within an organization. And also bringing together multiple data sets, meaning internal data, what's available externally, and also using it to drive decisions. I think the biggest challenge is that people need to trust internal data more, because what's available externally is available to every competitor.
Yeah, enrichment.
So, okay, for me, it's how many of you guys have an AI readiness plan? So, right?
What?
From
18.
Ah, so you guys are thinking, right? How do you ready your business? Because I think it depends on what your business is, the department that's going to take advantage of it, who's going to take the lead on this. And I think about in an organization, by coming up with a plan and starting to execute on that plan, when it comes to dealing with your CFO departments, you're able to start working with the teams to start realizing that investing in CapEx or project-based funding kind of approaches is just, it's not going to happen anymore. Because as you hear from Annabel, sorry, I'm bad with names until I said it 4 times.
Paul,
Paul. Yeah. 2. I'll mark it up somewhere. So you're going to fail all the way along. No matter what you try here, you're going to fail. You're going to start small, and you're going to fail.
And you want to fail.
And you want to fail.
As long as you fail forward. Fast. Exponentially.
It's so, I feel so cheesy saying it, but that plan needs to help your business unlock that it's a cultural thing. You've got to pick which departments are willing to go do it, and you need to shift your budgeting from CapEx or project-based topics. Because you're going to make a mistake, you're not going to get it right, but you're going to further yourself along to solving the solution. And how we're funding things is failing us. I saw it in the bank. And it takes time, guys, to shift your budgets. You're already committed to stuff over the next year. So you need to start planning. That readiness plan, I think, is your first step.
Yeah, that's it. Jacques, if I can just touch on the how part.
Yes.
I think for a financial person, for a CFO, and that blurring of the lines, I think what we need to understand is that there's a requirement for us to become good at identifying the opportunity, right? And that's where the gap sits a lot of the time. Because yes, you're telling me about machine learning, and a lot of what we're showing our customers and what the world is showing about AI right now is actually largely irrelevant to organizations, right? So,
off we go.
Well, you can apply that to value chain and supply chain optimization.
Exactly.
But you need to,
That's it. So the how comes to, what are the things I need to look out for to make to identify an opportunity? And I'd like to hear what everybody has to say about this, but our sort of high-level approach is, let me look at what's firstly a high-value situation, right? What's costing too much right now? Okay, and then the second thing is these situations are normally got to do with too much data for somebody or a team of people to analyze within the lifetime or the applicable life of their data in order to make a relevant decision, right? So let's make it practical. Let's talk about, MTN, for example, has this issue with customer churn, right? People are switching between networks and things like that. Now we know that an organization like that has got the data in order to identify with a reliable prediction rate who is going to churn within the next month, so that I can make a decision to phone that person and offer them an alternative product before it's too late, right? Once a customer's made a decision to cancel, to churn, it's too late to try and pick them up. We all receive those calls from the likes of MTN where I've already cancelled and now the retention department is phoning me and saying, we saw you cancel, can we offer you something else?
Too late.
No, dude, don't even phone me again, it's too late, right? So if you can bring that decision within the lifetime of the data and it's all sitting there, then you can get value out of it. You guys deal with this in the financial space, don't you?
We deal with this a lot. So we in terms of preemptive selling, preemptive product creation, so a lot of the work we do in financial services is telling them they're not a bank or financial services business, that you're actually a data business, and get bank out of your heads in a way. And then allowing them to create products on the go, services on the go, because they have the data at their fingertips, and create products to an individual level. So I'm very different from you, you're very different from him. We shouldn't all be buying the same sort of unit trust, or we shouldn't all have the same bank fees. Why are we all being treated the same or being bucketed? Because they have the data to be able to treat us like individuals. So we do a lot of this real-time data mapping, analytics, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think from a CFO perspective, in terms of the how, once you have carved out whatever you want to test in 4 to 6 weeks, what we tend to do is set a critical number, so you can then measure your success against what you're trying to achieve. So 100% is never a good critical number because, as we all know, in machine learning and robotics, it's more likely 10 or 15% if you're lucky, because these robots are actually baby robots, and you need to teach them for a very long time and give them a lot of context to your business and what you do for them to be efficient at all. But, if you are hitting your 10% in your 6 weeks, that gives you enough fuel to continue to have that fire burning, and then add more cash into the project, grow the team out, all those kind of things. So the critical numbers is also quite important in these various projects.
I'd like to add your customer experience. If you are looking for an area to focus on, it's often a nice space to pick out on, because you'll see instant returns on being able to, improve some kind of efficiency in the call center, or improve your onboarding process.
And there's usually lots of data.
And there's lots of data there, right?
And overlapping data. And
so I think that could be also a nice space to start, that combination of everything.
I absolutely fully agree. I love the specific examples that we just referred to. We actually, worked on MTN data before, where we looked at credit risk affordability, fraud detection, all sorts of different things. But it's for a company called Jumo as well, where we had access to mobile network operator data, and you just look at the wallet behaviors. There's no credit risk, no other history, so you build up that history in real time. As people do micropayments and so forth, and as you put money into that wallet and see how it's being utilized. And then also with the call direct records, quite a bit of valuable information there as well. So there's kind of, and there's a lot of data available there. So I'm not sure to what extent, but this is now in Africa. This is kind of Jumo's next generation mobile money marketplace. And so that's a good example. But for me, it absolutely starts with the value drivers. Now, this particular slide, I'm actually showing these value drivers, and it speaks to what Brett and Karl and Annabel was specifically talking about. And the way I've bracketed things is basically in 3 areas. So the increasing operational efficiency, effectiveness, and revenue. So obviously you want to reduce risk in terms of fraud, waste, and abuse, and customer churn, and so forth. But there's plenty of opportunities to increase revenue through cross-selling, upselling, recommendations. There's also opportunities to actually enhance your productivity. But then Brett mentioned also the other one in terms of customer experience, and that's the third bracket there, enhancing customer experience and having more targeted sales and marketing. So that's incredible, great. It's an excellent opportunity for AI applications. And I think what we all want is real-time, on-demand, digital, personalized service delivery. And that's possible if you actually mine the data properly and have a 360 degree kind of view of your customer, if you can get to that. But it's, so, in the way I'm looking, if I think about operationalizing AI, it's at least on 3 levels. It's clearly the typical one that you do in data science, where you uncover the hidden insights, you understand your customers better, you do segmentation, your models, your focus models, and we've got a very rich toolbox now with structured, unstructured, we can deal with unstructured data, text, video, audio, all of those type of things. So it's fantastically powerful. But then very quickly on the human-computer interface, the customer experience with intelligent virtual assistants and those type of things, you've demonstrated Google Duplex and all those great examples. This just shows you where we can go with that. So that's another big application area. And then the final one is on the data preparation as well. If you think about scanned in bank statements and so forth, you've got now deep learning technologies that can look at that and create smart data for your models. So there's plenty of opportunities to operationalize. Anyway, so yeah, any comments further on that before we move on? Everybody cool? Okay. Good, great. So, okay, we've covered, I think, we talked a little bit about some of the quick win solutions as well, in terms of churn and so forth. And you actually, Brett, referred to other types of quick wins in terms of, which is, I agree with you, if you think about facial recognition, the fact you can do transfer learning on things. So all those things, the image, audio, and the tools are there, and you can apply it. So it's all.
I just think about the menu. We're seeing it more and more in manufacturing and vision.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just being able to classify fruit.
Yeah.
You know, and put that into your production line and be able to sort it at scale. Because all you're able to then do is turn up the volume or throughput, and the tools are there. It's very accurate. They work very, very well. The models don't need too much training. I mean, you still need to train particular models. But I've seen great examples in the citrus space and the avocado space. So if you know, so many areas that we don't think we can use this. What do I use natural language processing for? What do I use vision for? Video. I mean, video. Oh my God, we're doing some awesome stuff with some of the major production houses, helping them meta tag video data. So what's the benefit of that? Well, discovery. All of a sudden you can repurpose all this content and start helping the recommendation engines better filter out content that's more relevant to you. What a nice, easy application of this stuff. So I'm always like, oh, the easy, low-hanging, use technology that's already there. I mean, all of you guys are all either making technology that's there. Just
exactly.
Use it.
And I think, to add to what Brett is saying, often the solution to a problem is lying a lot closer than what you think. Another example that I can use is we're working with a mining customer that is sitting with a massive amount of time off. So up to 20% of time off is sick leave. I believe industry standard should be around 5%.
Productivity now.
And this has a major impact on production, but it also has an impact on staff morale, because I get told in the morning when I arrive on my shift that I have to work 12 hours instead of 8 because half of my team didn't pitch up, and now there's a huge extra overtime cost. I mean, it's a crazy situation, but all the data again is sitting there. But it's a funny thing how, when we look at that, we feel overwhelmed immediately because it's just too much data to understand. I've got 2,000 employees, how can I possibly start? But if you just start solving one simple problem, that's why I love what Annabel said about give yourself 4 to 6 weeks to solve something, and what that does is it makes sure that you add value quickly, but it also forces you to limit what you can solve, right? And in that situation, I mean, what we do for the customer then is, you don't even talk machine learning yet. All that you do is, let me find through analytics, simple analytics, who are people that regularly take off a Monday and a Friday.
Yeah.
Right? And let's identify those culprits in the business, and let's just start reacting to that one problem. And with a good, not even a data scientist, but just a good guy that can write some SQL, you can get that answer in half a day. It's not a difficult thing to solve, and you can get it out to the business the same day. And even if it's kind of a POC and there's some data that you're going to play with, at least the business can start addressing the problem, and they start seeing some value from the analytics. And then you take the next step and the next step. And eventually, where do you want to get to? Well, I want to know at a high confidence rate how many people are going to be off sick tomorrow, so that I can plan alternative resourcing.
Yeah.
But that's 12 months or 6 months down the line, and it's going to take baby steps to get there. Like Annabel said, these are baby robots that you've got to kind of build out and show value so that you get continuous investments and buy-in.
Absolutely.
And treat them like babies, so they're not going to
Help
they're not
them,
going to solve all your problems. They need to be nurtured into teenagers that then will be able to have the context. Have the context, yeah. I think
do they come and trash your business?
Yeah, so I need to name one. I wouldn't name this.
Yes.
So, another example is the HR analytics. What we have done is create a tool, and they monitored the HR processes and recruitment and attrition over a period of 6 months. And it was found that the two groups, and we looked at it in grade levels, and the two groups that had the most amount of attrition were the groups where we had to concentrate most on getting the right employee equity status. And what was happening is the money that was being spent in recruitment was far better being utilized if we channeled it towards recruitment strategies, retention strategies, but we could never quantify that before. So just by generating it, it started off as a simple Excel tool, but now it's being built into ClickView, and that is looked at on a monthly basis.
That's awesome. That's
saving
483 lines.
But just to add on to that, I think HR, we actually participated in a few conferences this year where we just talk about transforming HR with artificial intelligence, smart technologies, and there's some presentations also on the Machine Intelligence Africa.org website where that is shared. One of our solutions is also looking at employee life cycle and also looking at resignation risk. We've done that for 2 year, 3 year, 4 year period. So those are the things that you can do, and produce machines to actually make employees more productive. Because that should be a big area. Annabel, you mentioned also the financial services, that being in financial services, but they're actually a data-driven business as well. So that is actually the middle category there. You can look at that, talks about creating strategic value. And with that data, there's opportunities to create new revenue models and all sorts of opportunities.
Completely. I mean, the big use case is fraud detection. So with any data, it all starts at one single point, and that's identity. If you can't identify someone or something, you can't serve them a product or a service or prevent yourself against various fraud in the ecosystem. So firstly, having the data around the identity is critical, and then building that out. And there's some really great, to Brett's point, open source software that allows you to not only read documents for document tampering on fraud detection, but read bank statements, do propensity modeling on the numbers that are coming out. So you can understand who you're serving, so you understand the individual at a much deeper level when they submit their ID book. You can do a bit of doc tampering on it, a bit of OCR, send it to Home Affairs, verify the data, clean it up, aggregate it, bring in their pay slips, bring in their bank statements, and you've got all the data you could possibly need about an individual to be able to provide them with any product or service that you would want to sell to them. So it's very powerful, these free tools that you have available to you. You just need to know what you want to test, what little use case you want to try and test. But and to the doctor's point, you know, his website's a fabulous source to go to say, okay, I want to test this. Where do I find what I need? And that's a great aggregation of information.
Okay, I've got another question here. This is more focused on the CFO's financial executives. So, what is a typical business case? If you think about investment required, quantified benefits, can we make it? Do we have an example that we can give them? Something specific. So you got to think. Obviously, there's a proposal. So we all do that in terms of if we offer services to a customer, for instance. Well, this is what it's going to cost you to operationalize and implement. What we do from the Cortex side is looking at end-to-end solutions. How do you integrate into the business as well and into the omni-channels, all of that. Yeah.
So I had a recent proposal in that being a large pharmaceutical company and having local production, any need that's within the country is being met where we produce anything and everything. But from the other side, in terms of determining, and I have a team that also does incentive calculations, for instance, and we looked at the large number of out of stocks that we have because the factory cannot cope with so much of production. So the proposal was then to streamline the offering and then look at maybe having higher production rates on a lower number of product offerings so that we minimize out of stocks and then we don't lose face in the industry or to our customer. This proposal was made and luckily enough the CFO bought into it and it is in the process of being implemented. So the results will only be available by next year, maybe in 6 to 12 months. However, it was a proposal that was a big chance on mine and the business part, and it was accepted.
That's great. So they obviously saw some quantified benefits and payback period. Obviously, it's going to be investment initially, and you want to see the pay. Yeah, obviously, if it's things like reducing churn or things that speak directly to the value drivers, it's easier to motivate. You can even come with solutions where you say maybe there's an upside. You share the upside. This is also some of the business models that some of the companies come up with. So just quickly, so in terms of should executive management prioritize revenue generating application or cost saving one? So, well, you actually talked about a cost saving one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think both are equally important in terms of revenue generating versus cost saving, because with cost saving then comes the realization that there might be budget to invest in more projects.
Yep. Yeah. I think the trick there is that by and large, cost-saving opportunities are easier to address.
Yeah.
Because especially in finance teams, that's normally our focus, right? Whereas revenue-generating opportunities usually require some kind of pivot on the organizational strategy, and that involves a much bigger audience or decision-making influence in the organization, and you've got a bit of a harder job of selling there. However, there will definitely be some low-hanging fruits in your existing business without having to make a big pivot. For example, we work with one of the big car rental businesses, and all of us struggle with the same problem, where we're late on the flight, and now we're going to be late for the meeting because we first have to go and rent the car, right? So one of the things that can help that situation is, well, let's go and pull the data. All that flight data is available, and let's in real time know who's on this flight of our customers, and then let's notify them as they land that your car is waiting, or give them an option and say, for 300, who would pay 300 Rand extra right now to get your car at arrivals?
Your rental car?
Yeah, your rental car. Who would pay? I think everybody in this room, most of us don't want to stick
I agree with you. We'll save time.
How much would you pay, Brett?
What's a rental car?
A rental car?
You can Uber.
So
Sorry, I actually got you on an Uber, so I don't know why I'm talking about SMB. I mean, this is my customer, so I can't talk about Uber. But I mean, how many would pay that 300 Rand extra just using that bit of data and putting it through a model and saying, and that's a slight change to a business model that doesn't require a massive strategic change, but it could be a massive potential revenue generator at a very low cost base.
Yeah. Anyone else? John. Okay. So next question here. I think it was McKinsey's or Accenture. They've got a very interesting diagram where they show collaboration and innovation. Collaboration on the y-axis and innovation on the x-axis. And they've looked at a bunch of companies and did some surveys. And most companies is an observer type of category. Little do collaboration and little do innovation. And what they recommend is collaborative innovation, where you're in the top corner there. And to move fast, be quick. I think, Brett, you've also in your talk talked about that, a little agility, speed, the importance of that. So the question to the panel here is just, what does collaborative innovation look like for a thriving business in the smart technology era? So we've got businesses here, and you're all kind of working for companies. You actually corporate as well, but in terms of what does it look like? What does it look like for?
Yeah.
Obviously, go for it.
I'm going to pick a world of APIs. So APIs it is essentially connectors within your software that allows you to connect to other businesses' software. So that's what an API is. For me, that world of API is at an industry level where you can collaborate and where you can innovate. And so most businesses are going to be trying collaborative tool sets that unlock ways of working, and they're going to be working on how do you innovate, and those are kind of digital transformation. But I think the really exciting space is when you look at your business and you say, well, and my best example, and I wonder if we should do an exercise. Do you guys want to do a very quick exercise? Okay, can you take out your smartphones, please? If you've got a BlackBerry, sorry.
Only smartphones.
So please take out your smartphones. It's a nice exercise. I'm going to talk you through something. So again, I'm Google Fork. So open up Google Maps, please.
Should I do it too, Brett?
You're welcome to. It's really quite cool.
But I've got a message, shall I read?
Yes, Dallamore.
Okay, next one.
So you're not going to have Google Maps. You're going to look for your favorite restaurant. In my case, it's KFC.
Good luck.
Or the Baron, just around the corner, but I don't need the Google Maps. So you're going to look for your favorite restaurant. You got it now, so it's brought up. You're going to click directions. And then I want you to stop. Now it's got a route map there. And on that route map, you've got a car, you've got a train, you've got someone walking, you've got someone waving at you. Can you click on that someone waving at you? Uber. Now it could be Taxify. Come on, if anyone knows Taxify, please tell me to integrate. It could be any of any of the car, whatever companies.
That's cool.
And that's an example of Google saying, hey, why don't you use our maps in your Uber platform? And hey, Uber, people are finding directions to go somewhere. Flip, it would be lovely if you just plugged into our APIs and you could tell them how much it costs and how long, and you click on it and we'll open up and you'll be able to buy Uber from Google. That, for me, is collaborative innovation at industry scale. So imagine the amount of businesses you could be working with against this, thinking big, by just opening up the APIs and data sets with other businesses.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's an awesome example. I think we do get it on multiple levels as well. APIs, application programming interface, is a great example. But it's also. I'm sure you know that.
I was like,
connectors.
But it's also active pharmaceutical ingredient.
Okay, that's true.
I find it so interesting talking to our customers about what's going on in the boardroom right now around this. And I've been involved with a lot of our customers at a strategic level. We call them data enablement strategy engagements or roadmap engagements. And what we typically do is we go and interview each of the ExCo members individually, and then what we get is all this saucy information about what people in the ExCo team really think of one another. I kid you not. And then we compile them into a report, and we can basically tell the organization, well, clearly you'll never succeed because of that and that and that individual that are against everything you're trying to do. And I think that's a reality for us as CFOs. Is the collaboration is vital.
I agree.
If you as a board are not unified to achieve this objective, you can forget it. And one of the ways that you can address it quite easily is, as a team, come together. If you've got to do it off-site, and have a sheet bar and some beer afterwards, then do that. But sit together and come up with a set of principles by which you operate. Right? What principles do in our family, my wife and my kids and I, we have some principles by which we operate, and what it does is it removes the debate around certain conversations.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we have some basics that we apply in our house. I won't give you any examples now, but one of the examples that you can have as a business is, as a business, we collaborate to implement machine learning and AI into specific problems.
Exactly.
And we fail forward and fast.
Great.
Right? And then what happens is, like Brett said, this transforms businesses to be more digitally thinking. Because as soon as that guy sticks up his hand in the ESCO meeting and says, well, this will never work, and I've been running this thing for 40 years now, but all that you do as a CFO or whoever's piloting this thing at an ESCO level, you stick up your hand and you say to him, remember that time that we had that sheep ride, we drank all that beer? We decided together as a team that together we will collaborate to apply machine learning and AI into specific situations, and we will fail forward and fast. And immediately that conversation is quelled, and now you have the support from the team to go forward and invest.
I think I love that. That's awesome. Ross, how much time do we still have? You said, let's see, it's 10:40.
Probably got about 5-10 minutes for questions.
Okay, cool. Just one or two more questions. I think that's awesome. Another one that I've got here is just what's the common and uncommon barriers to AI? You think about it. You can choose any.
I think it's what's the future moment.
So what is that? Common barrier?
It's a common barrier, because you do kind of sit back and where do we even start?
Yeah.
What the future do we do now? And it's so difficult to overcome that hurdle. Got to get people
identifying opportunities,
identifying them, working. Guys, I think it's really important. We're relatively new in the AI world because we come from a different world, but we're now in this world, and it's a great community, and there's lots of talent. And I really encourage businesses to bring the AI community into your workspace. Talk to them, learn from them. I mean, the guys have been in the AI industry. It's been around for a long while, right? There's some experts in there. That's the first step of that. What's the future moment? Come and talk to the guys who know their stuff, and they'll help point you in the right direction. I think that's a common.
Yeah, I think for us, what we're dealing with our customers most of the time is simply understanding what data I have.
Yep.
What does it mean? How clean is it? Right? Because what we say at AccTech is, whenever I put an AI model or machine learning on top of bad data, all I get is the wrong decision quicker. Right?
You need to solve that definition.
Yeah, and I think we've all experienced that. I was telling Annabel before the session that we recently put an AI model on top of some time and attendance data at one of the big mining groups, and they were trying to analyze and understand abuse of overtime, illegal collaboration between foremen and the workers to increase the amount of overtime, double clocking, where somebody's got his buddy's access card and he's clocking time illegally. And what they did is they put this the model on the data, and it was amazing. It could answer in 3 days what it took some of the big consulting firms months, and it came up with 10 times the amount of analysis. The problem was that because of the way the HR data was structured on the engineering side, the teams are the people were in one big team, whereas on the mining side, the people were split correctly into smaller teams. And so what the engine did is it used the engineering data as the baseline, whereas that's not how a mine works. The mine is the mining people are the baseline.
Yeah.
And so it gave the wrong answer because the data was structured incorrectly. Now they were able to pick it up quickly because it was a POC, and they could look at the data immediately and know this is wrong. But when you start applying machine learning and AI into life and death situations, you can't be wrong. So the underlying data, the cleanliness and the accuracy of the underlying data becomes phenomenally more important, and we have to get those baseline sort of data management principles in place so that we can actually start benefiting from this. I don't know how you see that in the financial institutions.
No, it's 100%. So just a lot of the work we do to get people over the fear and the hurdle is you most often are sitting on a gold diamond mine of data, but do your C-level team know where it all is? And they should be able to answer where the data is. They should be able to answer very quickly and clearly. We know exactly where our data is. But often what we'll find is it's different silos, it's all over the place, there's some that's old, some that's new, it's, different people are structuring in different ways. So that's really the first step, is the data. And the mentality that failure is okay. The failure is the right thing to do, and maybe not be scared also to work with the small guys. I know you're coming from Google and the big companies, but the small guys are very nimble, but also can start inferring the mindset that they work with as well around how to fail, be agile, pivots, all these good things. And just because they're small enough doesn't mean they're not potent or capable. So, and I think we've got to change that mindset as well.
I fully agree, Annabel. I've talked to so many CEOs and executives at corporates as well, and I'm actually still astonished by the fact that the way that it works, the data's in silos, absolute silos. And even if there's SMSs or things, communication going out to the customers, they don't take advantage of all this structured and unstructured data. And I think in the world that we live in now, we've got these kind of sensors that we obviously create channels, we've got more real-time information. That information needs to go back to the data lake, needs to organize, you need proper context around that. That information needs to go into your predictive models. You need to create a closed loop scenario. I remember, Brett, you talked about before in the 2000s, my previous AI company I sold to General Electric, we did quite a bit of work with traditional machine learning, where it was 1% improvement in throughput, yield. Those are the business value drivers. There's a lot of value to unlock, millions of dollars that can be unlocked. But there's examples of operationalizing. But it's hooking up with the right data, and obviously new historians, new SCADA systems, and writing back to the systems so the operators can see the results, or you do closed loop control, advanced process control, and you improve the process directly. So that type of scenario is absolutely possible in the consumer-facing world, because people stand in the way of these kind of progress. But you've got to sort out data absolutely, and you need rapid access to all available data. If you don't have that, then you've got a problem. You can't automate. You can't automate if it's manual. If there's any manual processes. Okay, so we're probably out of time. And maybe a last final thing I wanted to...
Manual, you mean cut and paste? I just see that so often.
I did a few talks last week also at the British Chamber of Business on the future of AI and the fourth industrial revolution. And some of those presentations and videos are also shared there. But what's the implication of AI on jobs as well? How do you think about that? Maybe the final question. Any quick comments, and then we're done.
It's sitting far down the line, Jacques, I think. I think that the way we need to talk about it is that AI is meant to enhance a job, not meant to replace
augmented intelligence
at this stage. That new species that Brett spoke about is down the line. It's there. It's going to come, but it's far down the line.
Unless you're an accountant, you're stuck. I'm kidding. It was a terrible joke.
Okay, any other comments?
So, the classic example we use is, I'm not sure anyone when they were little wanted to be a call center agent. That's not their big vision. That's not their big dream. And I think what we're missing as humans is the ability to unlock our true potential and value. And what we're seeing in the AI space is this is a beautiful opportunity to work with robotics to be able to free up time to spend with your kids or do the things that you really are good at. So it's machine assisted again, so machine training, working with machines, but also allowing us to evolve, because we have constantly evolved.
But most often it is, the thing of the future, AI. But what we need to also bear in mind is the customer interaction is largely human-based. But how often do we not have time to prepare or to be adequately knowledge in terms of knowing what the customer wants exactly?
Yeah.
So this is where AI takes us. It takes us to that high level of knowledge where you reach 5 steps ahead with the customer, even exponentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's going to aid the human interaction and aid jobs in the future, but I don't think it can replace most of the dealings we have in business.
Yeah. There's one final comment. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, he worked actually at Google and Apple. He's currently back in China. And innovation. But there's a TED talk on the future of AI, and some of that slides are also shared as well, where you talked about you can actually position all the jobs on an axis where you can see it's repetitive tasks within jobs, you can see routine, optimizing, you can see complex and creative, so you can actually position it like that. But what he actually proposed is actually adding a wide vertical axis that's more human-centric, where no compassion is needed and a lot of compassion is needed. And if you look at it like that, you can actually position the jobs, and you can see that we need to create a lot more jobs, more human-centric jobs and compassion-focused kind of jobs. And then obviously on the creativity and complex side, as Annabel also referred to, plenty of opportunities. So that's beautiful. I would recommend just 20 minutes, Dr. Kai-Fu Lee TED Talk.
There's an area that we're forgetting, because what we're looking at is existing jobs and how AI replaces it. But actually, AI is going to do a whole lot of jobs that were never jobs before.
Yeah,
Two.
So we've got to remember that, and I think that's where the real opportunity is, combining it with IoT. You're going to find billions more jobs that are just going to make business easier, make life easier and whole. And I think that we mustn't be worried about the threat on our jobs. We've got to complete those billion extra jobs that are going to be created for artificial intelligence.
Great, so I want to conclude with that. So I wanted to ask more questions, but I think we've absolutely run out of time. So thank you to the panel. So Annabel, Karl, Brett, Alishna. It's been awesome, and we'll share this as well on the MIA website. So thank you very much. Just
any questions? Yeah. Sorry, any questions? Well, we're going to take a quick photo as well. If there's questions, do that at the same time. Ross?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, maybe particularly that we've got in South Africa, is that most of us can handle a change from current to a artificial intelligence environment in the future. Where we've got a major problem is that 70% of South Africans can't do that movement. And so our huge unemployment rate at the moment, because of lack of skills, is going to become 6 times bigger in that kind of environment. So we need to be changing our education systems starting from preschool level to ensure that by the time our kids have got to high school, they're ready for an AI environment. And that's one of the things I think that we need to focus hugely on.
I totally agree. I mean, what you can use AI for to help education scale, through access, through content, pushing it. I mean, a great example is Khan Academy, that is using intelligent mechanisms to be able to determine your learn rate, what you're passionate about, and what path to take through the content to accelerate your learning is phenomenal. So I'd love to see, we have to get our education.
I think that's number one. We talk about land, but educational, we need to disrupt telecommunications, I think, as well. I don't know if it's as well, but I think we need for Africa, we need really cost-effective access to the internet. I'm looking at my son, he's learning so many things on YouTube and all of that. You want everyone to have access to that. And I think I'm concerned that Africa could be left behind if we're not very aggressive on that front. So education, I think, is going to be disrupted anyways. There's so much available online.
My son's learning a lot about Fortran.
Yeah.
Fortnite, sorry, not Fortran. Fortran.
You're also doing Maharaj justice now.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? We should actually have it. Okay, I think, because I also have to run, but thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There is opportunity now for networking afterwards. You're most welcome to speak to the speakers here as well. And you're welcome to come up here and Ross, where are we? Oh, we go outside. So people are going to move outside and we're going to have a nice chat and talk here. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.